Blood Brothers are reunited in Dexter. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Entertainment. It's time to review the finale of Season 1, Episode 12. This one is called Born Free. Originally called Black Heart Optional. I don't know which one you prefer. I think Born Free kind of works better.
Yeah, sounds better. Black Heart Optional sounds like
I know it's only 3 words, but it does sound very wordy.
Yeah,
there's a lot more syllables optional and shit in it. Like, I mean, I think Born Free is just...
When did they change it? Why did they change it?
I don't know. Originally called Black Heart Optional. They changed it, though, to Born Free. So, that basically, Born Free is like a clue that is played throughout the episode. So, we see Dexter obviously realising that Rudy is the ice truck killer. He's searching for clues where Deborah's whereabouts are. But he doesn't know. The last thing he knows is she was with Rudy, and Rudy has now abducted her, and it's up to Dexter to find her. He's going to go into a series of mind games. He has to find the clues. He goes back to his apartment. He essentially just like destroys the place, but he realises that there's a new screensaver on his computer playing the song Born Free. And he suspects that Rudy might be keeping Deborah at the cargo container where his mother was butchered and where Harry found him when he was 3 years old. But before he can do anything, there's a knock at the door. It's LaGuerta and Dokes. They want information on Deborah. Dexter says he doesn't know anything. Dokes doesn't believe him. Dokes reveals he knows that Dexter's been running prints on Rudy. Why the fuck would you be doing that? Dexter then admits that he had suspicions, but he couldn't ruin Deborah's love life. He couldn't break up their marriage based on a suspicion. Well, Dokes is like, well, you son of a bitch, if she's dead, it's all your fault. LaGuerta tries to calm Dokes down, but he ain't having it. And Dokes is like, nah, I'm on to you, Dexter.
I'm on to you, you slippery fuck.
And Dokes has been on to Dexter since day one, really. Just does not like Dexter.
I'm surprised Dokes wasn't the guy that found him in the container. You slippery bastard.
At the hospital, LaGuerta and Dokes pay a visit to Batista, who is being treated for stab wounds he endured earlier in the hopes of finding leads to the ice truck killer. They suspect that Rudy Cooper might be the killer and that he could have kidnapped Deborah as well. So we basically that confirmed. Batista's like, I'll come with you, but they tell him just to stay. You're in no shape. You've been stabbed up pretty bad.
The guy that's in his room as well is annoying. She told me. And Dokes told him to fuck up, and he did.
Yeah, there's some like... See, that proves, like, you can say this guy's a mental patient, but when Dokes told him to shut the fuck up, he did. So that proves to me that it's just a gimmick, this whole mental shit.
And just like, why didn't I say that about 10 hours ago? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, we then see Dexter, he's at the container, he's looking for the containers. There's like a shitload of containers here, like, the number of containers isn't even funny.
Yeah, he's had to go on a whole recon mission. Yeah, to break in, type in the number, and he manages to find it. And he opens it, and it's bananas.
It's bananas, a shitload of bananas.
Is it safe to say this? What happens next is the most iconic scene in Dexter?
I'd argue so, yeah.
Surprise, motherfucker! It is. You know what? It is easily in the top 10.
It's a fucking meme
in TV history. It is.
It's up there with Say My Name.
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
I would say more people know Surprise, motherfucker, over Say My Name.
No, they probably do, but I'm trying to think of something that it's comparable to, and I'd say the Walter White thing, the Heisenberg thing from Breaking Bad, is similar. I feel like at other TV shows, I don't think there's anything in The Walking Dead that comes close.
No. Like, honestly, there's not a person that uses the internet that does not know about this.
Everybody knows about this.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Honestly,
no, this is like the greatest quote of all time. It is. It's the delivery. Fucking... I can't do it justice.
And tell you what, Dexter wasn't expecting it. It was a surprise. It was a legit surprise. Dexter is caught off guard, obviously, about this. Dokes then says he knows that Dexter's up to something. They get into like a little bit of a fight here.
A scuffle. And Dokes
is like, lab rat my ass.
He gets fucking battered.
Yeah, because he just knows the fight that Dexter puts up here. This guy...
But see, I think Dexter should have been smarter here. He could have took an L by letting Dokes beat him up.
Really?
Yeah, why not? That would have made him look like he is just some jobber. Yeah, some lab rat. See, once he gets Dokes in a position, he's grabbing his fucking Adam's apple in a way where it's not supposed to bend. Obviously, he's not fucking normal.
Yeah, he's got him in a position that, like, it's like one of those, like, he's on, like, a nerve or something where Dokes is fucked.
Yeah.
And it's like... it's like, like, Masuka wouldn't be able to do this, you don't feel.
No.
But Dexter's like pulling off these fucking mad moves, and Dokes is like, "Oh, hold on, I was right about you." I think the yard manager or a supervisor, someone comes and asks, "What the hell?" I'm going to phone the cops. And
Metro PD.
Well, Dokes is like, "You don't need to phone the cops." And
We are the police.
well, is this guy under arrest? Dexter asks Dokes, "Well, am I?" And Dexter's like. Dokes is like, fucking on to you, you bastard. We get Rita. She's contacted by Paul. Paul says that Dexter has done this. He believes that Dexter's hit him over the head with something, dragged him out, and he's got him done for drug possessions.
Look for my shoe, Rita. Size number 10.
Yeah, Rita's not happy, hangs up, and then Paul phones again later that day saying that, look, I'm telling you, I've got proof. If you find a shoe, I was missing a shoe when I woke up, so look for a shoe, and that will be the proof. I mean, honestly, it's not just because your shoe falls off doesn't mean.
I wouldn't necessarily say this is filler, right? But let's say she does, like, well, she finds the shoe, right? But let's say she thinks Dexter's bad to her. Even if she finds it out and wants to get rid of Dexter, she's not going to be like, "Oh, Paul, you were right. I'm going to drop all these."
So you can come back and terrorise me.
She's got the dream scenario here. Obviously, he thinks he can still manipulate her into getting his freedom, but realistically, she, at worst case scenario, would dump Dexter and still let Paul rot.
Yeah, he also...
Which maybe Paul kind of wants in a way. He's like, he doesn't want Dexter and his kids if he feels like he can do shit like that.
He also sends in his sponsor,
his AA sponsor,
who also says there's proof, but...
I mean, this was a bit heavy for this guy.
Yeah, but Rita
basically accusing Rita of, like, you and Dexter are fucking battering this guy.
But Rita doesn't want to hear it and pretty much tells him just to leave. I also thought it was funny during the docs when Dokes is like, "What the fuck you doing here?" And Dexter's like, "Oh, I had some furniture delivered for Thailand."
I know, what the fuck. How quickly, like, did he come up with that?
Yeah, that was surely just to piss Dokes off at that point. He was winding him up.
See, for the AA sponsor though, I think they all think they're entitled, don't they? They all think they're above people because, oh look, I was addicted, now I'm a wee bit better.
Yeah, they seem to think they're gods because they've overcome something.
What about everyone else who can have a drink without fucking killing someone?
Yeah, so...
Or not be addicted to meth? A wee pish? Come on, man.
Dexter then visits Brian's apartment and he finds the record Born Free and a Barbie doll with Home Sweet Home on it. So again, putting together the puzzles, it's when they were born and obviously Home Sweet Home. So Dexter...
Nice. But I tell you what, Dokes gives him like the biggest side eye of all time here.
He
looks at him like his fucking Malteser dome is about to explode.
He doesn't take his eyes off him, like his eyes are directly targeted onto Dexter here. Dexter then goes to the house that his mother used to live in. We get some flashbacks with Dexter and his mum. We also seen some flashbacks earlier where Dexter's in the trailer and you see his mum get chainsawed up.
What I would say though is obviously we did have the arrival of like the new lieutenant, is it? Aye, the new lieutenant. And the fact that like she kind of like undermined this whole operation, I felt.
I don't think she was necessary in this finale. I think there's enough shit going on without throwing her into the mix.
Yeah, it's like you've got Lagarta who's essentially running task here. They're on to Rudy. And this woman's come in.
I'm probably going to get all the credit for this.
Yeah, I know, but also like delayed, like thing. They briefed me on the way, and like the meaning, like Lagarta, I get it, right? That's what the big man wanted. He wants her to feel like shit and be like feel little, but it completely undermined this case. This episode.
Yeah, it just wasn't necessary.
I think that is a season 2 premiere written over it, not the season 1 finale.
I agree.
That obviously you could say, well, that's the cookie cutter thing to do. That's what most shows would do. So maybe they tried something out the box. But I feel like when you've got this big finale about the killer being dealt with, the police hunting them down, I just don't think this is needed. This is a dynamic early season, not late season.
Agreed. Rita turns up at the department to try and talk to Dexter, but he's like basically rushes out and says, "I can't be dealing with your problems right now." And,
I mean, Paul was right.
And he basically goes to...
Storms off. He's going back to the house.
He's going back to his house that his mother used to have. Meanwhile, Deborah's trying to escape. She's like... blindfolded and like just
She
like
tries to escape now. and it's
restrained, and she's just like running and banging off walls and shit, and it's like going absolutely
Rudy's just
nowhere.
looking at her like, when's Dexter getting here?
Yeah, we then see Dexter go to his mother's house. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Batista's watching the news regarding Rudy. His true identity is still a mystery, as his prints aren't present in the criminal database. But he then hears about the nurse talking about his deranged roommate and how dangerous psycho patients can be. Batista then gets an idea to call ID Tech, and he asks them to run a test on Rudy's prints.
You think the police would know about this stuff, though?
True, but I mean, if they don't know that the guy's a psycho, then...
Yeah, but surely, like, surely they don't know he's a psycho. He's a fucking serial killer. Surely they should be looking into this.
True, but so it turns out that he suspects Rudy might be a psych patient. So he gets those tests run. We then get Dexter arriving at his mother's house. We get a flashback where we see that Dexter's mom is calling Dexter in. They're playing hide and seek. She finds Dexter. Then she asks young Dexter, 3 years old, "Where's your brother?" And it turns out...
Rudy's his brother.
And it turns out, yeah, Brian is his brother.
I didn't see this coming. What I'll say is, though, obviously the dynamic of, like, he knew so much about Dexter and, like, why is he, like, playing him like a fiddle? And also, I always thought, like, well, if the police catch this, Rudy, or the killer, then he's just going to lead it straight back to Dexter. But the fact that it's his brother, it makes way more sense now.
Yeah, Dexter...
I like this reveal, that's what I'll say.
What did he call him, Brawny?
Bray?
Bruni? Bray?
Bruni?
Bruni? Bray? I don't know, he couldn't say the word Brian when he was 3 years old.
Sick fuck.
Dexter...
I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, Dexter has a conversation with Brian. He's kind of intrigued, he's kind of relieved to find out he's got a brother, but he's also worried, obviously, about Deborah and what's happened to Deborah.
But he's not overly worried about Deborah, though.
No, I think he's more happy to find that he's got a brother that's alive.
Yeah, he's more like, here, we need to catch up and talk about things, but let's not worry about Deborah. We can deal with her at a later date. I don't care if she's wrapped up in cling film. Right, big man? We talk about brother shit.
And if anything, I think this just drives Harry further away from Dexter's good books.
Yeah, Harry's in the mud. We've seen Harry flashbacks earlier where he picked them out the container, but that's all we got, Harry.
Yeah, Harry's pretty much just took Dexter away. Brian explains that Dexter was still young and that he could overcome that, whereas for Brian, it was too late for him. You know, he was older, he's seen this shit, and basically he just got through in a psych ward. Harry didn't want to adopt him.
Yeah, so
Rudy kind of feels sad a wee bit for him.
Rudy feels hard done by.
He does, and I guess you could argue he's right. Dexter goes looking for Deborah, but Brian's not really digging this, and he sedates Dexter, kind of just like the way Dexter sedates all his victims. Then Batista returns to the station, handing LaGuerta a file revealing Rudy to be Brian Moser, who was institutionalized for antisocial personality disorder. Brian was released at age 21 after it was believed that he'd been cured of his mental disorder.
He was going under the fake persona the guy killed, what, 98?
Yeah.
Rico, or whatever he was, Rudy.
Pascal, the new lieutenant, believes that he might be in the coast, but LaGuerta's like, nah, that was last night.
Yeah, ridiculous, man.
You can't go off a phone call, like a phone reception from last night. And then they basically have a quick, brief conversation about how Pascal says that she was appointed by Matthews with one of her objectives is to make LaGuerta's life hell, basically.
At least she's openly admitting to it.
Brian then reconnects with Dexter with his past. He tries to convince Dexter to kill Deborah. He says, "This ain't your sister. This is your fake sister. I'm your real brother. I'm your biological brother." Deborah's wrapped up in plastic, just like all of Dexter's victims. So, like, Brian, I guess, has been keeping track on Dexter. He knows how Dexter does it. He thinks that if he wraps up Deborah the way Dexter wraps up his victims, then Dexter's going to go ahead with it. Although we've seen he didn't do it with the Tony Tucci or Tony Tucci.
Tucci.
I mean, you could argue that this time Brian's went through the full process and he's got Deborah the way he wants him, but Dexter refuses to do it. He tackles Brian. We get Dokes and several officers arrive at the scene, but Brian manages to escape before they can capture him. He goes through like an underground tunnel.
Fuck knows where he came out.
Yeah, Dokes looked at it and thought, fuck, I'm not going underneath this.
Probably smart for Dokes. But, I mean, this does look quite bad for Dexter, the fact he was here.
See, like a crawl hole though. See if you go in that and then something happens, you're fucked. What can you do?
No, you're right.
It's like, I think if you see a tunnel like that or a crawl space, you're better off just leaving it.
Yeah, because I mean, it could be set to collapse or something.
Yeah.
And you're dead. But after this, Dokes is pretty pissed with Dexter. He's like, it was your fucking fault, Dexter.
Yeah, Dexter says that he tries to convince Dokes that Brian called him and told him to come up here or he'd kill Dexter, but Dokes isn't having it. Dokes threatens to give Dexter a suspension. But then Deborah steps in and she's yelling at Dokes, says, "Get off my brother's ass, you're always on him, leave him alone. He's a hero, he saved me."
Yeah, you know what, right? He is always on his ass, but I think he's got a point in this episode. Dexter's been reckless and it's been pretty obvious that something else is bigger here.
No, I agree. Well, in the hospital, Deborah worries because Brian is still out there and he might try and kill her again. She thanks Dexter for saving her life. Paul, like we said earlier, contacts Rita one more time. Brings up the whole foot thing.
I found a shoe.
We'll talk about that at the end. At the hospital, Dexter's beginning to wonder if Harry betrayed him because he kept his brother's existence from him all these years. And I don't think there's anything to wonder about. I mean, Harry has actually betrayed Dexter here.
Yeah, he has.
I don't know how you could have maybe tell him when he's older that here you've got a biological brother, but by that point, I mean, hadn't seen each other for this amount of time. But I don't know, was it really Harry's call to take Dexter?
Yeah, like the whole excuse is like, here, he wanted to fix you because you were still young enough to like be fixed. But once Dexter was showing, examples of being a bit deranged and like killing things, surely the jury was already out there.
Could he have done the same for Brian?
He could have. Easily. I feel like with Rudy, he can mask his emotions better than him.
Yeah, possibly.
I feel like he's far more believable. I feel like Dexter does come across as more cold-blooded, which doesn't make much sense considering Rudy kills more innocent people. Well, Dexter doesn't.
Well, you could argue Dokes is caught onto Dexter, but he's not caught onto Rudy, although he spends a lot more time around Dexter, so...
Yeah, he's always been suspicious of Dexter.
That's what I'm saying. At the hospital, Dexter's told that he can either take Debs home tonight, she's going to stay with him, or he can leave her in overnight at the hospital. Go back to Dexter's apartment, and he's saying goodnight to her, so we believe that he's decided to take her home.
I thought this was weird at the time. I was like, she's awfully still for that to be her.
Yeah,
she's like lying naked and he's like touching her back. He's like, yeah.
No, she's got the blanket on her.
No, you can see her back. Bare back.
Not barely. Like up her neck.
Barely. Funny guy. Yeah.
Barely, aye. So Dexter's asleep and Brian breaks in. Brian walks into the room where Deborah is sleeping. He tries to kill her, stabs her in the back, but it turns out it's not Deborah. It's actually a trap set by Dexter. He then strangles Brian until he passes out. And he tells him that this is your handiwork. I guess you've outdone yourself. Obviously using the prosthetics that Brian created, and it just goes to show that these prosthetics are pretty realistic because Brian thought it was actually Deborah laying in the bed.
I don't know what I'll think of this all going down. I feel like the whole brother reveal was massive, but it seems like a season 4 or 5 sort of storyline rather than the first season. And also, I almost would have preferred this episode if he just escaped and it left on a cliffhanger rather than he came back and got caught like a jobber and then Dexter just kills him anyway.
But most people don't outsmart Dexter, like, so.
Well, I mean, this guy's been doing all season.
Well, true, but I mean,
Dexter's been playing checkers, this guy's been playing chess.
Well, king mate. Checkmate. Brian is in the same contraption that he kills his victims in. I believe he's back in his apartment.
Yep.
He's going to do them the same way he did his victims. Brian tries to convince Dexter that he can be free to be his true self with him. A frustrated Dexter loudly dismisses this, causing a single tear to run out of Brian's eye. Dexter's also on the verge of crying here. Dexter says he can't let Brian live because he knows he will always want to kill Deborah. Brian continues to lecture Dexter on how he's choosing to live a life for people who will never really know or care about him for real. Dexter says that you deserve to die more than anyone I've ever had in my table, but you're the only one I've considered setting free.
Yeah, which is insane. He was also given like his preference, like you don't me to do it when you're knocked out or alive.
Yeah, he was going to offer more tranquilizers, and in the end, they're like having a heart-to-heart, and Dexter kind of just like out of nowhere slashes his throat, slashes Brian's throat, telling him he can't hear him anymore, while admitting Brian's right. Dexter knows that Brian's right, that he can be himself around his brother, but not anyone else. And Dexter, I guess, just doesn't want to hear it anymore. Because I think maybe Dexter thinks that if he doesn't do this now, he's not going to do it.
Yeah, I see it.
And he's probably just going to release Brian, and that might lead to Deborah dying. So it's like he doesn't want to do this, and he agrees, with what Brian's saying, that together they would be better off, and that Dexter could be himself around Brian. He doesn't need to live this fake life where he has to pretend that he is somebody else around everyone else in his life, but he has to do what keeps Deborah safe. I guess he believes maybe he owes Harry, and yeah, he kills.
He owes Harry. Fuck Harry. Harry's left you in the gutter, Dexter, son.
He kills Brian, his biological brother, and he sets it up to make it look as if Brian has committed suicide, and then like the whole contraption thing lifts up in the air, and it begins to drain his blood into a bucket. Next day, Dexter then returns to Rita's house to make up for the previous visit. When he leaves work, he notices that Dokes is tailing him, so this could be the start.
Dokes just stares him it.
I mean, if Dokes was suspicious before, then he's going to be fucking on his ass now, basically, for the foreseeable future. Dokes gives him the whole pointing the fingers at the eyes, I'm watching you gimmick. Rita then waves goodbye to Dexter, and she goes to take out the trash, and she notices that there's a shoe in the alleyway beside the trash can.
Yeah. So
and obviously this shoe must belong to Paul.
Literally.
And she begins to wonder whether or not Paul is telling the truth about Dexter.
Like we said earlier, it doesn't really matter if Paul's telling the truth. She's not going to get him released. At best, she's getting rid of Dexter for Paul.
Yeah, although, I don't know, maybe Rita's the kind of person that would, because she doesn't believe that he should wrongly be in prison if he didn't do it.
Maybe, but I mean, come on. If Paul gets through it, he'll just threaten her with the same stuff he was threatening her before he went in.
Very true.
Play the game, Rita, come on.
Dexter mourns his brother's death while pondering his actions. He and Deborah's walking to the crime scene. He knows that he's probably the only one here that's not happy about the fact that Rudy's dead. He's the only one that's upset about it. And then he begins to imagine how the crowd, if they knew the real Dexter, that they would probably be cheering for him. They'd probably appreciate what he does. They'd probably like what he does. And then in his head, you just see him imagining everyone here that is attending this crime scene.
Love Dexter.
They're all chanting for Dexter. They're all like shouting and celebrating for Dexter. They've got posters of Dexter.
Everything for Dexter.
Cops are high-fiving Dexter. Like,
great kill, Dex.
Good job, Dex. And
I thought this was funny.
And we just see this like weird sort of fucking like smirky smile on Dexter's face, and Dexter embraces his shadow self and considers himself one of them in their darkest dreams. So these people, Dexter thinks these people would love him, but if they really knew the truth, then would they feel the same way? And I think a lot of people do that. Like I think when you hear like of a story about somebody killing like a pedo or something like that, people are like, oh, you know what, fair play to the person that done it. But would that actually be the case if they knew the person that done it? Would their feelings change? I don't know.
Yeah, it makes you ask a lot of questions going into season 2.
Because people like, they might say, oh, people like Dexter or Nita, good job taking out the trash, but if you admit that you're the person that kills these people, do they still have the same feelings? Do they still hold you in the same regard? I don't know, but the season ends with Dexter with a big massive smirk on his face while everyone is applauding him and cheering him for his actions that they don't know he's done, but he's just done it in his head. He is assuming, or he's acknowledging the fact that they believe it. So
we love you, Dexter, and if it's quite alright.
So that's it, guys, for the ending of episode 12, season 1. That is season 1 in the books. And what was your thoughts on it?
I enjoyed it, but I don't know if killing Rudy was the right choice. I'm still out in that. I like the brother feel. I maybe would have liked that to simmer a wee bit longer. Like I said, I didn't like the Vigurta and the new LT stuff. That could have been season 2. And Rudy, I would have been fine with him escaping, but I get it. If each season's about each killer, then maybe it's fine for him to die. But I feel like the fact that he had this brother, I feel like that could have been dragged out a few seasons. Maybe not wrapped up within like 10 minutes of its reveal. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, it could have been. Depends if you want to go down that direction. Although, where do you draw the line? So, does Dexter accept Rudy? Do they team up together? It was a choice. I mean, I think Dexter had to make this choice.
It's hard to keep him alive, but my point is, if he escaped the first time, you didn't really need to catch him till like season 2 or something, but who knows about him being his brother? I guess at the end of the day, was Deborah privy to any of the conversation when she was like half dozed? Who knows? Will Dokes look into it and find out that this guy was actually his brother before Dexter got the name changed?
Possibly. We see Dokes, he's watching Dexter.
I'm watching you, motherfucker.
He's going to be on his every move. So, yeah, no, probably the best episode of season 1.
Yeah. I'm still out on the Rudy thing, but I mean, the episode that has surprised motherfucker in it, I mean, I'm always going to rate the pretty high.
Yeah, I'm going to get a 9 out of 10. I thought it was probably the best episode of season 1.
Yes, I will also give it a 9 out of 10. You scrap the Lagarta and the LT stuff. No problem with Lagarta this episode, it's just a new LT. Just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, she's not very likeable.
It's like
hopefully she doesn't last long.
She's openly admitting that
she's just been basically hired to get LaGuerta.
I know why I'm here. I'm just here to make sure you do a bad job. I don't give a fuck about the rest of the department.
Make your life hell. So
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it would have been cool to have Rudy survive, but I mean, in the end of the day, I suppose Dexter has to make a choice, and he made his choice, and yeah, we'll see what happens, and what's the future have in store for Rudy? What's the future have in store for Harry? Are those people dead to Dexter, or will they
appear in flashbacks?
Or will we see them in the future? Who knows? It's been a while since we've seen Harry. Where the hell is Harry?
We've seen him this episode.
Yeah, I know, but until this episode, I mean, Dexter, I think he'd went 2 episodes without seeing him. Whereas previously, I think Harry'd featured in every other episode, so...
What's that all about, John?
He feels betrayed, so...
John was having a wee title run or something.
That's what it could be. Anyway, guys, that's it. 9 out of 10. We'll be back to review all the episodes, rank all the episodes, rank all the deaths, and then rank all the characters in Season 1. So stay tuned for that. We'll catch you in the next one. Till then, though, peace.